roadfly.com, the internet's best resource for buyers, sellers, and owners like you.
Hi, I'm Ross Rappaport with roadfly.com. Thanks for watching this episode of Roadfly TV. Today's review of the 2012 Honda Civic Si is kind of a neat thing for me. I actually own a 2009 Civic Si, so I've been looking forward to this assignment for a good while. There was a time about 10 years ago when Honda owned the market for lightweight, sporty front-wheel drive compacts like this. But that market eventually died, and most of those cars went with it. So this Civic Si is really all that remains of what used to be the sportiest affordable lineup available in the US. So, perhaps unfairly, this car has some heavy expectations placed on it by fans like me. And when you consider that the majority of sport compacts out there right now are packing turbocharged four-cylinder motors, the Civic just seems outgunned. But I believe that Honda cars are usually more than the sum of their parts. So let's see how these parts add up. For starters, there's a new motor. The Si is now equipped with a 2.4-liter version of the 2-liter 8,300 RPM Screamer that powered the old car. The new engine revs to just 7,000 RPM and gains just 4 horsepower over the old motor for a total of 201. But with a bump in displacement of nearly 25%, where this car really shines compared to the old car is in the torque department. Its 170 pound-feet rating is about 40 more than the old car, and this car is actually lighter. So finally, I have to talk about the interior. You all probably know that I'm a big-time nerd about storage and ergonomics, and that I think no company does a better job of those two things than Honda. But this is one area where this car has lost a little bit without necessarily gaining anything in return. For example, there's no more sliding armrest. I can't really see a benefit in deleting that. And the door handle cubbies are much smaller than they were in previous years, now too small for most mobile phones. And a more conventional handbrake location has sort of cramped the storage situation here in the center a little bit. But that's not to say there haven't been any improvements. There are 2 cigarette lighter adapters now, the cabin is much quieter overall, and the ride is far less punishing. At first, I wasn't necessarily excited about the Civic's new engine. I'm more of a high revving kind of guy, and I'll gladly swap low RPM torque for high RPM power any day of the week. But Honda did this car right, and it's a nice answer to the critics who might have complained about the previous Civic's power band. This car also sports a much better power band than its main rival, the Mazda Speed 3, which I actually drove a couple weeks back. That car is faster in the grand scheme of things due to being turbocharged, but it's really only from 3,000 to 5,000 when it's hitting full boost that it's really impressive. Below or above those engine speeds, there really isn't a lot going on, and that's not something you can say about this car. And there's still that trademark VTEC spike when the car really starts breathing hard. So all of that will combine to get this car from 0 to 60 in about 6.5 seconds, and the quarter-mile time should be in the mid to high 14-second range. Now, around town, this is much more usable than the old car. It's got a much better power band, a lot more torquey, obviously. And if you can believe it, fuel economy has actually inched up a couple of ticks, at 22 miles per gallon in the city and 31 on the highway. The fuel meter inside the car has told me that I'm doing about 28 miles per gallon, and that's with staying off the highway, which is pretty impressive. In 2001, Honda switched from rod shifters to cable shifters, and they took a lot of heat for shift mechanisms that maybe reduced feel and levers that felt a little bit too light. Well, this feels more like the rod shifters of old than it does the cable shifters of the past decade. It's easily the brawniest and heaviest shifter I've felt from Honda in those 10 years, yet it still preserves that trademark telepathic Honda smoothness that we've all come to expect. And even in heavy traffic, operating the clutch and the transmission lever is an absolute delight. To make a long story short, the new Si grew on me very quickly. Will this be the car to convince a generation of tuners that they haven't actually been abandoned by Honda? I'm not sure, but if you like the way the old sport compacts drove, you owe it to yourself to check this car out. It has a mechanical and direct feel that I assumed was just gone for good as modern cars got ever more isolated and refined. And with an as-tested price of just around $23,000 for our test car, there really isn't a lot of competition for the SI. So if you want a reliable, roomy, economical, and fun daily driver, you'd be crazy to overlook this car. I'm Ross Rappaport. Thanks for watching this episode of Roadfly TV. You can find more pictures of this car and a downloadable window sticker at roadflytv.com. Please join our community by subscribing to our channel, leave us some comments, and find me on Facebook. I'd love to hear from you. But as you would expect with an additional But with an increase in displacement of nearly 25%, the new car's torque rating But as you would expect, with a nearly 25% increase in displacement, this car beats the pants off the old... Let me check this.